Hello, everyone. This is Bryn. I'm one of the writing mentors with the Writer Studio. And today I just wanted to briefly go over finding your topic for projects 1 and 2. So first we want to look at finding your topic. So the main thing, particularly for project 1, is you want to find like a local community and issue that interests you. And we heartily encourage that you find something that you're passionate about or otherwise have like a direct connection in, or otherwise it impacts you directly, because this is going to be something that you are going to be discussing for both projects. So it's important to find something that you'll be able to continue on kind of reviewing and looking at over the course of this entire class. And so that can be looking at something in your city, in your work, in your school, in your volunteer group, anything like that. And so the first thing you'll want to do after you find your local community is you'll want to ask yourself, what is the issue? So you'll want to find an issue that is somehow impacting the individuals or the community itself that you are going to investigate for Project 1. And so then you're going to look at who is being impacted or the stakeholders. And then how is the community itself being impacted by this issue that you have chosen? So as an example, I live in the greater Phoenix area, and there is an issue of trash littering the streets. So I'm someone who has worked with the Nature Conservancy for many years. So therefore, this is something that would be very interesting to me and something that I would want to continue for both projects 1 and 2. So as an initial touchstone, I would choose my community as the city of Phoenix. And then the stakeholders or the people being impacted by this issue of litter would be the citizens of the city. So once you kind of have a rough idea of the community and the issue at hand that you want to address, you're going to want to look at narrowing your topic. And so narrowing your topic comes down to kind of looking at the community and looking at the issue and seeing if it's a finite topic within an area that's immediately local to you. So that can be things like a neighborhood, a specific area of town, a specific branch of a company are all wonderful examples because they are limited spaces. And within those limited spaces, you can choose like a specific issue. That's different than, say, an entire company or an entire county area in which that just covers too large of a space to be able to discuss properly. And the same goes for your issues as well. You want to be careful not to choose an issue that is too overreaching to where there are too many facets that could be broken down. Because at that point it becomes too vague and too difficult to research for the requirements for Project 1. And particularly for Project 1 in particular, you're not going to be looking at solutions. You're going to be showcasing to the audience why this issue is something that they need to be aware of and why it is just something that needs to be brought to their attention. It is in Project 2 that you will start to look at addressing the solutions to that issue that you have chosen. So continuing on with the example, the greater Phoenix area is far too large to try and cover as it is a very big city. And the term street cleanliness in and of itself has too many variables to research. So that could cover street sweepers, volunteer organizations, maintenance, the trash companies themselves. If I were to try to cover that, I would have a thesis paper rather than a short, directed, pointed work. So from there, I would narrow it down a step further, and I'll take my community and say, okay, I will make it my town that exists within the area of Phoenix. And then my issue will then be bulk trash specifically. So this helps you select a specific area in which to work. So that way you can showcase to your audience, X, Y, and Z are exactly why this is an issue that needs to be taken care of. Or within this particular region, specifically, is who is being impacted by this issue that you have chosen. So finally, after you have found your issue, and your community, you've kind of mulled them over and you've narrowed them down to a more specific area, I recommend going back through and kind of reassessing what you have. And so reassessing is just kind of going over the information that you have gathered thus far. And if you need to, narrowing it down one more time, whether that's be taking a town and making it a neighborhood, or taking it like a healthcare organization and making it a specific clinic within your area or something of that nature. And then I always recommend kind of asking yourself these questions so that way you have a strong base going forward into both your projects. So you would want to ask yourself, like, who is your audience? Who will be reading this? Because you're going to write differently or choose different words and a different structure if you were writing, say, a public announcement that would go out to your neighbors versus a professional letter that would go to your boss. And then who are your stakeholders? So who is being impacted by this issue that you have chosen? So that could be your neighbors, your coworkers, other young women within a profession, something along those lines. How is this issue impacting the community? So this is showcasing how what you have chosen is specifically impacting the environment of this community that you are researching. And then why should people know about it? So this is essentially the breakdown of XYZ reasons as to why your audience and why the stakeholders need to be made aware of this issue that you have chosen and why it matters that it needs to be investigated. And so as a final look at this example, so my issue and my community were still a little bit larger than I'd like. So I decided to narrow them down one last time. So then it became that my community was my neighborhood, which is a specific set of a couple of streets immediately local to me, and that my issue would be inconsistent bulk trash pickup dates on our streets. So then I can say that my community is my neighborhood. My issue is the lack of bulk trash pickup days, which is in itself a very finite, specific issue that I can research. My audience will be my neighborhood. So then I could choose to do a community announcement in the paper. The impact of this issue on my community is that it dirties our yards and our streets. And why it matters is that we deserve a clean neighborhood, and we as a neighborhood deserve or require ourselves to reduce waste. So this was just a quick rundown of different ways to find your topic. This is by no means a set in stone process, but it's something that I personally find helpful, and I hope that you do as well. All right, have a wonderful day.